The Texas A&M Fighting Aggies men's basketball team come into the NCAA tournament as a 4 seed with a record of 22-10, and they will face off with Yale, who comes out of this as a 13 seed and has a record of 22-7. We are going to be doing a preview of Texas A&M in the NCAA tournament, as I'm about to be joined by Olin Bucanan of TexAgs Radio right here on the Texas A&M preview show for the NCAA tournament.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate
that.
No,
I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
This is Stingray, host of the Stingray Show, reminding you, if you like our content and you like our episodes, wherever you are listening to this from, whether it be YouTube or on Spotify, make sure you subscribe to our content for all of the latest information and latest episodes. And without further ado, here is another great episode, so enjoy and continue listening. And with that, I want to welcome you inside the Texas A&M preview show for the NCAA tournament, and I'm about to be joined by Olin Bucanan of TexAgs Radio to do a quick recap of Texas A&M in the regular season and in the SEC tournament, and then to look ahead to the bracket that Texas A&M is in. Olin, how are things with you before you travel to go see the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I'm doing well. I would like to take a trip that's lasts more than one day, though. You know, I was in Nashville for one day and then came right back. So heading to Denver a little while later, and let's see if we can have a long stay. I sure like living off the company's expense report or expense account more than I do on spending my own money. So, you know, the longer the Aggies are there, the better off for me.
So, Olin, I do have to ask you this, though. How awesome is it for Aggie fans that they locked up the 4 seed and their arch rival, Texas, is in the play-in game and may not even make it to the first day of the big dance?
Well, not as awesome as you think, Stingray, because it was losing Texas in Nashville in double overtime because they took a timeout. A&M took a timeout on the bench that nullified what would have been probably a game-winning three-pointer, and that loss probably knocked them out of the 3 seed and put Texas in that play-in. So, you know, A&M had taken care of their business. You know, A&M's lost twice to Texas this year. One time, the first time in in Austin, they blew an 18-point lead in the second half. And then that game against Texas in Nashville looked like they had it won. With the Wade Taylor had a 3-pointer with about a minute 20, a little less than that, would have given A&M a 7-point lead. You think that should hold up, but they had taken a timeout on the bench before he made the shot, and so they ended up not scoring, and Texas was able to pull it out in double overtime.
So, briefly, if you would give us a quick preview, or I'm sorry, a quick review of Texas A&M in the SEC as they finished in the SEC with a record of 11-7.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good year. Started off with having a really tough non-conference schedule. They beat, Purdue and Ohio State and Creighton along the way. Texas Tech too. Got into SEC play and won their first 2 games. And Wade Taylor got hurt,
Yes.
and so they lost to Alabama in a game where they missed 20 free throws. You'll remember that, and then lost on the road to Kentucky. They didn't have much chance in that one, and he went on a roll. Then they went over to Texas, lost that game. I told you about. They blew a 20-point lead and then won 6 in a row. So they were thinking about, hey, they're in the championship picture. They're going to need some help, and but they're in the discussion. Well, then they lost 4 in a row.
Yes.
Lost at Mississippi State. No shame there. Played a really good game against Tennessee. Was down 3 with 30 seconds to go, but I think they missed. They were something like 6 of 30 from 3-point line in that game. Then they lost to Vanderbilt, which made you at home, which made you kind of scratch your head, and got blown out by Florida. Okay, that happens on the road. But then they came back and beat Auburn. So that's A&M right there.
Yes.
That's A&M. You can lose to Vandy, and you can beat Auburn.
Yep.
And no team is more streaky than the Aggies, and it can be in the same game. I saw games in one half, Texas, Oklahoma, some others, where from one half they look like national championship contenders, and next half they look like some team that shouldn't be in the tournament, shouldn't be in the NIT. So, if you catch them on a day that they're streaking in a positive way, they can beat anybody. And their shooting is so erratic that you get them cold, and they're very vulnerable.
So let's go on ahead and talk about their first matchup on Thursday. That is going to be at 6:25. It is going to be Texas A&M, the 4 seed, against the 13 seed Yale team, who comes in with a record of 22-7. And if people will remember, Yale knocked out Auburn last year in round number 1. Olin, give us your thoughts about the first round game of A&M versus Yale.
Well, understanding that you have to respect Yale. If you didn't, before you knew what you just said, that they had beaten Auburn, then that would get your attention. You have to respect them.
Yes.
I don't think look, how many games have I seen Yale play this year? None.
Right.
But, I've done some little bit of research as much as I could. And look, they're not going to be as big as A&M. And A&M's not a big team, but they're not as big as A&M
Right.
across the board. They're not as physical. And quite frankly, they're not as athletic.
Mhm.
But, if you think they're going to be a bunch of stiff guys in raccoon coats and waving pennants going boola, 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 and you're going to find yourself maybe disappointed, because they can play. They showed that last year. Now, they don't have the 7-foot center that they had last year. He presumably took a pile of money and went to Michigan, so you might see him in the second round. But they have guys that can, they shoot the 3 really well, even though they don't rely on it, right? They don't turn the ball over. They're what you'd expect from an Ivy League team, like, the old Princeton teams that always gave everybody trouble. They're very patient. They work for a good shot. And if you're not careful, somebody's going to pop open at 3, or they're going to get a backdoor cut for a layup. So you've got to be patient as well. And but they shoot well. You don't want to get them at the free throw line, and then you got to find a way to capitalize on your advantages. And sometimes A&M does that. Sometimes they don't. So, like I said before, they're like the Forrest Gump box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You feel good about it going in because, again, they got a guy averaging 19 points a game. I'm sorry, I'm terrible on names that aren't like Smith and Jones. But he's got a great name, Puladikas Kita Deka. I don't know. You'd have to trust. If you saw it, you know who I'm talking about. He averages 19 points a game. Go out there on it. I think he had 6 3-pointers in their championship game over who they beat. Not Princeton. Escape me right now. It's one Cornell.
Yeah.
So he's a good player. So A&M has kind of, as you probably know, they have kind of an unorthodox approach to defense.
Yeah.
And their approach sometimes allows guys to break open. I know Vanderbilt, their kid, what was that kid's name? Nickel. He goes out and he hit 7 of 10 3-pointers. And Chaz Lanier at Tennessee just went out to the 3-point line and lit them up. And they took a long time to adjust and actually, hey, maybe we ought to go out there and try to deny him the ball or be there when he catches it. Or I think if they're gonna play that same way where they're wanting teams to kick the ball out, and then you're gonna take your chances on seeing if you can't get out there to guard them, but there's a good chance they're gonna be shooting open threes.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be playing with fire a little bit.
So, Olin, let's say A&M does get past Yale. How do you like A&M versus Michigan in the second round? Because Michigan plays UC San Diego.
Hey, I know people that follow basketball. I follow the Aggies in the SEC. I know some people that follow basketball overall, and they're telling me that don't be surprised if San Diego wins that game. Now, look, I'll take Michigan. I admit it. I'm kind of a snob for the big power conferences, but I assume Michigan is very much respecting San Diego. But if it's Michigan, look, a couple of years ago, A&M played Michigan in the Sweet 16. A&M had just knocked off North Carolina, number 1 North Carolina in Charlotte, and went to Los Angeles feeling really confident, and Michigan blew them off the gym floor.
Yeah.
So now that was with a different coach.
Mhm.
So I guess it's more than a couple of years ago. It was about 7 years ago. Good gosh. So anyway, haven't seen a lot of Michigan. And I know they have good talent. There's been their coach has been somewhat maligned for some of his decisions in a loss to Oklahoma. They also lost to they lost to another SEC team that I can't think of right off the top of my head. So they've had some ups and downs, but I'll say this for A&M, and for the other 13 SEC teams.
Okay.
Nobody's more battle tested, and the way nobody was bad in the SEC. We talk about South Carolina, hell, they beat Clemson, right? So
Yeah.
nobody was bad. So and you saw different styles. So I think that everybody in the SEC, including A&M, when they go into this. I don't think, no win in this tournament is assured, as you know. Survive and advance. That's everybody's mantra. But I don't think when you've played Florida and Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee and so on, I don't think going up against Michigan or San Diego or whoever is going to intimidate you, right? But I'll say it again. Would I be surprised at all if A&M goes to the Sweet 16 and sees Auburn again for a rematch? No, I kind of expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would I be surprised if they lost to Yale? Yeah, I'd be surprised, but would I be shocked? No, because again, A&M is all over the place sometimes. And if it is Michigan, that's a Big Ten team that was right there in the running for the regular season Big Ten championship. They got off to a slow start, but they turned it around. So they typically play a more powerful game in the Big Ten. But I've been seeing a lot of physical play in the SEC this year. So, whatever you get, I think all those SEC teams, including A&M, is going to be ready for it.
So, Olin, let's go to the Sweet 16, and let's assume A&M gets all the way there. They're probably going to face the number 1 overall seed, the Auburn Tigers, in a rematch. How do you see that one playing out?
Well, those rematches, it's hard to beat a good team twice.
Yes.
And we're talking about maybe the best team in the country. So I think you have to acknowledge going in that A&M in that scenario is going to be an underdog,
Yeah.
and they won that game. They won it handily here in College Station. Now there's those that would say, look, Auburn had already clinched the SEC championship, and they had Alabama next, and I think somebody was out. I can't remember the guy's name. It was one of their better players. Nick, I don't know, his point a guard that's really good. Again, I see so many of them. But one of their top guards was out, so all those things. But Auburn played a good game that day. They shot 50% from the field. They shot a high 3-point percentage. It wasn't like they gave the game to A&M and didn't show up.
Right.
So that tells me, is A&M going to go to Atlanta in that scenario with a chance to win? Absolutely. Would I pick any? Would I put any money on the Aggies? No. But you know what? If you'll go back, it's just Buzz Williams' team and the way he plays. The matchups give Auburn trouble. I think they're like 2-6 against Auburn under Buzz Williams. And those are good Auburn teams, right? So they've had success against Auburn. But that said, you have to have success that day.
Yep.
And in that scenario, I would have to say Auburn would be favored and should be. We don't homer it up over here. We'll tell you how it really is.
Yes. So, Olin, my final question for you. You've covered A&M for a long time. What is the most entertaining and exciting game that you have ever witnessed with A&M in the NCAA tournament?
Well, that's easy. I don't know if I should call it entertaining, because I had written an entire article. You'll remember this game in 2016. There's like it's 10:30. I've got my entire article written about how A&M disappointed in the SEC. I'm sorry, in the NCAA's again, because they have a history of getting disappointed. And here they are losing with 33 seconds left, and they're down 12 to Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
And they come back and tie it and go on a 12-0 run in the last 32 seconds and then win it in double overtime. Now, the best the game they ever played was that one I referenced when they beat North Carolina, because they ran North Carolina out of Charlotte. But when you come back, you see something historic, a 12-point rally when you're in 32 seconds, that'll stay with you.
And Olin, how long did it take you to redo that story?
You know what? I was on some adrenaline. Almost as long as it didn't take that long, about as long as it took me to delete everything I'd already written.
That's awesome, man. All right. So, Olin, as we go out the door, who do you ultimately have cutting down the nets in the national championship for the NCAA tournament?
Okay, it's an SEC team. Why would it be? But I don't know how anybody's going to feel about this, and I'm not really happy about it. But I got to go with those Gators.
Yes,
they look really good, playing good. They're big. They got guys that can score outside. If I had to bet on it, I think I'd go with the Gators. What do you say?
I'm going with the Gators as well.
Okay, so I'm not just getting crazy then.
No.
All right.
No.
It's going to be they're going to be celebrating in Gainesville.
Yep. And Olin, I know that A&M fans are glad that they are on the other side of the bracket from Houston, because that game was a barn burner last year, but ultimately Houston put A&M out.
Yeah, Aggies missed too many free throws, which is a common malady with the Aggies. Sometimes they're great at the line, sometimes they're not. You never know what you're going to get.
So, Olin, we will let you get traveling on to Denver. Be safe traveling to see the Aggies and gig 'em, my friend.
All right, buddy. Hey, I'm looking for. I'm gonna call it eight. Well, maybe you can't even do that. However many teams that you can get in, 8 or less, SEC teams are going to be in the Sweet 16. I think that league is just as good as everybody said it was.
Right. All right. And Olin, we will definitely catch up with you later on because of the Diamond Aggies. They are looking really good right now, and we'll catch up with you later on to talk a little baseball.
All right. Remember, America starts with A&M.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Give them
All right.
Aggies, and
We'll
here
see.
we go. All right. Bye-bye. All right, so that is going to wrap up our preview show right there of the Texas A&M Aggies in the NCAA Tournament. Like I said, they start off with Yale, and that game is going to be on Thursday at 6:25, and we really do want to thank Olin Bucanan of TexAgs Radio. Once again, A&M versus Yale in the South region, 6:25 on TBS, and that game is on Thursday. Good luck to the Aggies, and we will catch you next time right back here on the Stingray Show for another SEC team preview for the NCAA Tournament. Good luck to the gig 'em Aggies. Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC.